My name is Amir Destori. I'm currently a senior in Dr. Palmer's Business Policy Capstone course. This presentation was put together by myself, Gabby Hurley, and Allison Russell. We took a look at the global impact factors moving forward with Starbucks as a company. Hope you guys enjoy our research and this presentation. So, like I mentioned, these are the impact factors that we see affecting Starbucks on a global scale and moving them forward in the future. So, as we take a look at the overview of the factors, we can split them up into five main um, categories that fall into the global steeple analysis. So the social, cultural, technological, economic, political, legal, and environmental factors are ranked here. We picked six impact factors that we think are going to be driving the markets moving forward, and we gave them each a probability of occurring an impact, which gave them a total scale, which we could use to rank them. The ranking system was on a matrix that you can see on the next slide. So the more extreme and likely they're going to happen, they would be towards the bottom right in the green, and the trivial and rare things would be in the top left in the red. The four that we're going to be focusing on today for this presentation are the four that are highlighted, which are one technological, one economic, one environmental, and one political and legal. So the first technological factor that we highlighted that was in the bottom most right part of our matrix was the mobile sales through Apple's. In 2007, Starbucks and Apple announced a partnership that has lasted a decade, so it's passed the time test. They've been very helpful in developing and advertising through mobile apps and mobile platforms. Um, and recently, Starbucks in their earnings reported that 20% of their sales come from any form of mobile platform. So that's whether through their website or their app or Apple Pay. So the probability of this partnership lasting was very high, and the impact that it's had on their company has been equally as high. So this was the most highlighted thing in our research and at the front of our matrix. Second factor that we'd like to touch on is the environmental factor of the climate change hurting the agriculture and the supply that comes through the Starbucks chain. Global warming has already begun to take a huge toll on the coffee producing countries. And the coffee plant that Starbucks focuses a lot of their drinks on requires heavy conditions and monitoring of their irrigation system, soil management, and temperature. Global climate change has been a huge factor in the African markets. As you can see in the graph in the bottom, they've taken the biggest hit in the recent decade, and global warming has affected them the most in the production of their coffee plant. But we combined two economic factors that are impacting Starbucks the most, and that was the introduction of Brexit, which is British leaving the European Union, and the Chinese economy. So in Great Britain, um, Starbucks has announced that the Nespresso home brewing machine is their biggest segment in Great Britain. And since the British pound has taken such a huge hit from the Brexit event earlier last year, this has hurt their sales there. They were looking to launch this program, and it really took off in Europe because it rivaled the Keurig machine, so people at home could brew their own tasting Starbucks coffee. And as for the Chinese market, CEO Howard Schultz said that he would like to make China the second biggest market after the US within the next 5 years. Currently, that's Europe, but he planned to have an expansion plan going forward in China and their growing coffee culture. But the GDP growth and the economy relationships with China haven't been where they wanted to be in 2017. As you can see, the GDP growth on the graph in the bottom right shows that they've been steadily falling down within the last couple of years. So they cut the planned addition of 750 stores opening up in China, which has really stunted their growth in that segment of the economy and the Asian market. And lastly, the legislation and regulation impacts that are going to affect um, Starbucks production on a global scale were the Arabica coffee plant, which is what they specialize in importing to most of their stores. They're produced in Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, and Indonesia. And these four countries have been under a lot of scrutiny within the global community, agriculture, and restricting their child labor laws. This is something that kept popping up in the news, and affects the coffee industry as a whole. So Starbucks has a huge stake in that, and unethical practices in this field could mean that Starbucks is unknowingly or being a silent funding partner of this industry. if more laws come down and production is slowed down, this could also have a negative effect on Starbucks production and import. So I thank you for your time and thank you for watching this presentation. I hope this was an informative presentation on Starbucks and their factors that they have to focus on in the future in the global markets.